Hi students, the topic of this class is History of Animation. Let me start the class by telling you a bit about animation first. Animation is a graphic representation of drawing to show movement within those drawings. A series of drawings are linked together and usually photographed by a camera. Drawings have been slightly changed between individualized frames, so when they are played back in a rapid succession, that is 24 hours per second, there appears to be a seamless movement within the drawing. You can also say animation is the art of making inanimate object appears to move. The development of celluloid around 1930 quickly made animation easier to manage. Instead of numerous drawings, the animators now could make a complex background and foreground and sandwich moving characters in between several other pieces of celluloid. History's first recorded animator is Pygmalion of Greek and Roman mythology, a sculptor who created a figure of woman so perfect that he fell in love with her and begged Venus to bring her to life. In 1825, thaumatrope was invented. This is made of two pieces of paper and string, one image in front and another on the back. As it spins, it gives an illusion of combining the image, which is due to persistence of vision. Persistence of vision is the eye's ability to retain an image for roughly 1/20th of a second after the object is gone. The elements of motion has intrigued artists from thousands of years. From cave painting created over 25,000 years ago, we can say animation starts from the Old Stone Age. As Paleolithic cave paintings depicts animals with superimposed multiple legs which convey the perception of motion. Zoetrope was invented by William George Honor in 1834. A zoetrope is one of the several pre-film animation devices, consists of cylinder with cuts vertically in the sides. On the inner surface of the cylinder is the band with images from a set of sequenced pictures. As the cylinder spins, the user looks through the cuts as the pictures across. The user sees a rapid succession of images, producing the illusion of motion. Frenchman Émile Renaud invented paleolithic in 1876, which was an improved version of zoetrope by replacing slits with the inner circle of mirrors, which help in projecting before the theatrical audience. Phenakistiscope was invented by Joseph Plateau in 1841. A spinning disc attached vertically to a handle, a series of drawings around the disc center. The user spins the disc and looks through the moving slits at the disc reflection in a mirror. First film-based animator appears to be John S. Blankton, whose humorous Faces of Funny Faces in 1906 launched a successful series of animated films for New York's pioneering Vitagraph company. Later that year, Blankton also experienced the stop-motion technique in which objects are photographed, then repositioned and photographed again. Haunted Hotel was his stop-motion film. He was considered as the father of American animation. Emily Cole is one of the earliest pioneers of animation, along with John Blankton. Together, they laid the foundation of the medium in the early 90s, with simple caricatures and stick figures. Cole goes down in history as a creator of first genuine, fully animated cartoon, Phantasmagorie, in 1908. He was also the first to adapt a comic strip into a regular animated film series. Cole was called as the father of animated cartoons. The one great exception among the early illustrators turned animators was William Mackay, whose elegant Little Nemo in Suberland and Dream of Rarebit Finn remains pinnacles of the comic strip art. Gertie the Dinosaur, created by Maclay in 1914 tour that transformed the art. Maclay's super draftsmanship, fluid sense of movement, and great feeling for characters gave viewers an animated creature who seems to have a personality, a presence, and a life of her own. In 1920, the most popular character and the series of the period was Felix the Cat. Laugh-O-Gram Studio in Chicago made the live-action film named Alice's Wonderland, 1923, that combined animation and a live-action film. Studio closed down later that year due to bankruptcy, and the owners of the studio moved to California and opened another studio named Walt Disney Studio. First major character in Walt Disney Studio was Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, which was a straightforward appropriation of Felix. When he lost the rights to the characters in a dispute with the distributor, Disney simply modified Oswald's ear and produced Mickey Mouse. Far more revolutionary was Disney's decision to create a cartoon with a novelty of synchronized sound, which was Steamboat Willie in 1928. Fleischer Brothers Production out of New York City, a group that went on to create characters such as Cuckoo the Clown, Betty Boop, Poop Eyes, and Superman. First animated short film with vocal words matching the mouth was his success. Fleischer Brothers were also the first to do 3D landscape, using multiple cels to give the appearance of depth. Flower and Trees, 1932. Silly Symphonies cartoon produced by Walt Disney, directed by Burt Gillett. It was first Technicolor animated short film. The film who received Academy Award. Animated short film became popular after the introduction of sound that talkies were being produced at an alarming rate by several different places. For Disney, the final step was, of course, Snow White and Seven Dwarfs in 1937. Although not the first animated feature, it was first to use up-to-the-minute techniques and first to receive a wild Hollywood-style release. Fantasia 1940 was the first movie to be released in multi-channel stereo sound. Because of this feature, film was also called as Fantasound. Only 2 animated movies are on AFI's top 100 movie of all time. Fantasia and Snow White are the part of it. Let's talk about traditional animation or classic 2D animation. Traditional animation involves animators drawing by hands for each and every frame. If you love the feel of pencil on a paper, then the traditional approach is very fascinating. Traditional animation is creating the drawings one by one on the frame. 2D animation involves creating numerous drawings, then feeding into a plastic cell, hand painting them, and create the animated sequence on a painted background image. Film for traditional animations are Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Peter Pan, Sleeping Beauty, Aladdin. Computer animation 2D. The famous Mickey Mouse animation was created using a 2D animation technique. The first 2D animation was called Phantasmagoria. It's a short cartoon made by Emily Cole. It's shot entirely in black and white. The cartoon is all about simple stick man in live action. The cartoon is 75 seconds long and it took about 700 different drawings to create. This historic animation was released in 1908. Digital 2D animation. Creating animation in a two-dimensional space with the help of digital techniques is known as digital 2D animation. You don't need to create digital models, you just need to draw the frames create hundreds of drawings and animating them to show some kind of movement is technically known as digital 2D animation. Small variation like changing the color or frame rate can change almost instantly, thus making it easier for the animators to work on. Digital 3D animation. If you are interested in making the unreal characters into a realistic one, then it's digital 3D animation. For 3D animation, objects are built on the computer monitor and 3D figures are rigged with a virtual skeleton. The limbs, eyes, mouth, clothes, etc. of the figures are moved by the animators on keyframes. The difference is appearance between keyframes are automatically calculated by the computer in a process known as twinning or morphing. Finally, the animation is rendered. Stop motion. Stop motion animation or the motion capture or performance animation, unlike any other type of animation, is simply a way to animate puppet. Using frame-by-frame animation, physical static objects are moved around and during the post-production, it is shown in a fluid movement. Stop-motion animation has been around since the evolution of puppets. There were many movies created using the stop-motion method. Some of the finest examples are Fun in a Bakery Shop, created in 1902, Edward Potter's directed The Teddy Bear, which was one of the earliest stop-motion animation film. It was just over a minute in length, which took over 50 hours of animation. Claymation or clay animation. If you like to play with clay, then this is the best form of stop motion. In this claymation, pieces of clay are molded to create characters, and based on the imagination of the animators, a story is unfolded. Sometimes the clay is molded into free forms or filled up in a wire-like structure called armature. Art Chloe started producing claymation advertising film in 1950s. Glumbaceawas was the first clay animation. Art Chloe, who went on to create the classic series Grumpy, using the same technique. Puppetry animation is created using the life-like puppets instead of objects. The film, The Humpty Dumpty Circus, 1908, created by John Blankton and Albert Smith, received credits as the first short-motion animation film that features puppets. Cutout animation. Cutout animation is probably one of the oldest forms of stop-motion animation in the history of animation. The first cutout animation was created by Lute Reiniger in 1926, and it was named The Adventure of Prince Ahmed. She used quite detailed paper silhouettes to convey a beautiful story. In this method, paper cutouts are moved under the camera lens to say a story. Typography animation, motion graphic. Typography is all about font faces and letters and animation in anything that is in motion. Well, a combination of text in motion is known as typography animation. Typography animation is widely used during the title part of the movies. Typography animation film created by Ballard Forrest called The Atlantic. Pixelation. Pixelation is a stop-motion technique where live actors are used as a frame-by-frame subject in an animation film. By repeatedly posing while one or more frame is taken and changing poses slightly before the next frame of frames, the actors became a kind of living stop-motion puppet. This technique is often used as a way to blend live actors with animated ones in a movie, such as The Secret Adventure of Tom Thumb by Bolex Brothers. Flipbook. Even before the time of computers, animation was very much into practice. Artists used to carry a small flipbook or flickbook and draw a series of images with little variation to the pictures. So when the book is flicked together, you can see the series of image in a fluid motion, trying to show a scene. Flip book animation is one of the oldest but fascinating kind of animation. The first form of animation to employ a linear sequence of images rather than a circular cell.